the first to know. Nsem-Pii TV.
Ebusuafo mame chiao emo akwa babim emfamra ye kasa for news so Nsem-Pii TV. Be the first to know. Philip Osei Bonsu ene kwaku insia of Asempa FM ebusuafo matnase by seti digested letter His Excellency John Dramani Mahama issue say yemfanyi the Chief Justice no free the position and answer the post no matnase digested. Na omutnase no omu ekofa letter na Philip Osei Bonsu kind na all kind no enoma mienu mutimi gina so edi yi maami edi ewo petition mienu baako misbehavior na misbehavior no na obi eni kwaku ensia etimi akofa the condition of service of the Chief Justice abatu edwa according to the condition of service na se no enanka omugina so dia anka ni hu ni kwan se etimi yi Chief Justice no efiri o because tendai as part of evidence ewo committee ni mu nenso o manfa anya hwe I don't know obi mu ekenkan no mu chim say point 9 of the condition of service for the Chief Justice no chere say Chief Justice no is entitled to travel based on adwumadie potia okudi nemum so okwa he can go with the spouse. Now after the spouse no obetumi so ne babi etimi akọ na se wokọ no yetua ne ka per diem obeje no se nipa kro no one ne ko either the spouse or the daughter or the child no on be 50% of per diem no and after so if they are to go by business class better the same flight nim the same business class and they akọ na omubusa se na se san no we nyina eka condition of service ho a after die nti na mutimi gina misbehavior nkwan so etimi di yi maame no di free office looking at said the now committee report ni che say one ni kunu ekọ Tanzania ni kunu ne eje per diem sanso na one ne ba ekọ the US of A on so je per diem eno na condition of service no di favor ebusuafo ya ko ni nkoti ebra na Philip Osei Bonsu de science mo nyina etu edwa.
Good. In you are somneti any
yeah me Philip
1.9 finding 1.9 in the opinion of the committee, the travel expenses which the Chief Justice heaped on the judicial service when she traveled on holidays in September 2023, first to Tanzania with her husband, and second to the United States of America with her daughter, together with the payment of per diem to the spouse and the daughter of the Chief Justice, constitute unlawful expenditure of public funds. It cannot be justified in law or policy. Those acts constitute avoidable and reckless dissipation of public funds, and in the view of the committee, to have been occasioned by the overall head of the judiciary and the judicial service, whose duty it is to guard public resources allocated by the government, is caught within the spectrum of stated misbehavior. It is essential committee ne ka say oni nikunu ene ne ba etu kwan oni nikunu ko Tanzania
okay
and oni ne ba eko US
yeah
now on all those trips no on mine through the judicial service the far hoka
okay
essentially per diem emma
okay
committee ne say that be wo a wo hwe judiciary ni nyina na wo so bo judiciary resources of mine no ono wafa judiciary sika ye nioma ense emfa. That's according to the committee.
No oni sa 2 minutes oni ni kunu ni man betu koyana.
Yeah, that's what the committee is saying.
Okay.
Almost a avoidable and a reckless dissipation of public funds. And of course I will show almost one defense no medical committee in any they said so more present a travel policy for the judicial service.
Yeah.
I capture clearly they are entitled to as far as the travel is concerned. I don't know if the committee considered our policy now as a man consider that. I don't know.
A policy that works with the condition of service for a Chief Justice under the judiciary.
Sure. I don't know what travels will be the
okay.
As to some consider and as a man consider, I don't know. But they find this as a gross misbehavior. I was a stated misbehavior was say yetimi ediyinu.
Okay, na say me when we hanum that travel policy. Yeah. Point now, see, the Chief Justice shall undertake unlimited official travels with either his or her spouse or other person of his or her choice in a year, fully funded by the Judicial Service. 10. Where the Chief Justice is accompanied by the spouse or other person, he or she shall travel on the same class of air ticket as the Chief Justice and shall be paid the equivalent of half the per diem paid to the Chief Justice. Okay, so only Nikunu and any other person via aircraft. Say, my Chief Justice $100, sir. You must have about $50.
And as the Chief Justice, etna business class.
Also, business class. 11. Where the official trip is sponsored by the other organizations, the communication directory shall confer with the organizers to determine the extent of sponsorship in terms of air ticket, accommodation, and daily subsistence allowance. 12. Where the logistics provided by the organization shall fall short of what the Chief Justice ordinary is entitled to, the service shall make up for the shortfall. If you find say be a OB Foundation
and a
sponsor. No OB Foundation seek 5,000, but ma me no Chief Justice call kono ebe cost 7,000 or 2,000 ebe so.
Okay, that's right. And then we can say this probably was tendered in evidence by Chief Justice as part of the defense, you know.
Yeah.
After the committee they consider another question. Because consider if by the wording of this policy, you know, because when him committee in the report, say what the Chief Justice did through a quinto, almost say it cannot be justified in law or policy. This is a policy. Almost say even with this policy, you know, what she did cannot be justified. I don't know why, but this is what the committee has stated. Number almost second finding. You know. The committee states without fear or favor that the Chief Justice unjustifiably breached the provisions in Article 296A and B. So in Article 296 is the article about discretionary power. And how you exercise.
Like to me, I did too many years.
Guided out to me. Good.
Yeah.
And you say Chief Justice unjustifiably breached the provisions in Article 296A and B of the Constitution 1992 in the way and manner that she transferred Mr. Baden. Her conduct amounted to misbehavior. That's what transfer.
Not Mr. Baden here, why?
Minimum.
Okay.
Minimum. And you need details of the petition to know the Mr. Baden, you know. And at the frontier or transfer or much same more a quite of fast transfer, no. Or breach discretionary power.
Article 296.
We also almost say that power should not be exercised capriciously and
arbitrarily.
But also that's constitutional. Also, in the exercise of that power, no, for administrative authorities, there should be the publication of a CI to regulate the exercise of that power. Meaning saying the judicial service normal publishes CI this regulated but those are questions that can be asked later. Third reason, and as a finding of the committee, the committee is of the view that the conduct of the respondent is squarely in the category of conduct described as stated misbehavior under Article 1461 of the Constitution, the conduct on how a transfer, Papa.
So almost a fully understated Article 296 against Article 146. 146.
146.1 the cases obey any Article 146 office holder. It was said grounds in stated misbehavior. But more part say. So we should call fast to transfer Papa na. A fall is squarely under what stated misbehavior is. Because Obrichi 296A and B of the Constitution.
So the remove and money say on your bonny but ya painting a my bonny.
A choir be of fast to transfer Papa no. One for quite pass. The committee is of the opinion that action and conduct of the Chief Justice falls within the meaning and categories of stated misbehavior as provided under Article 1461. Okay, I've read this. The final point, however, the Chief Justice, qua Chief Justice, cannot lay claim to ignorance of the nomination process and procedure.
Okay.
Notwithstanding the fact that the process and procedure are not spelled out in the Constitution, but in case law. The appointment of the Chief Justice herself as a Justice of the Supreme Court went through the very process and procedure set out in the Ghana Bar Association case. Therefore, to seek wittingly to outwit this known process and procedure for appointing Supreme Court justices amounts to misbehavior in the eyes of the committee, and the committee finds it as such. Inti unse letter bi babe eliki. Say Chief Justice recommending conphobia or mampenyin hwe na on Supreme Court.
Okay.
Committee ni chire mu a e breachi the known laid down process.
Then you can say Chief Justice no
recommendation according to the committee.
So on what basis now Chief Justice yes our recommendation?
Say maybe as the head of the judiciary. In the committee the cracker said
so okay, but before that you say enye ma me talk no kwa na like why Chief Justice. So before her coming, say a promote to be called Supreme Court.
Yes.
That process need to say.
The process is there. I mean, President nominates, not the Judicial Council.
President recommendation from the Chief Justice. President recommendation. So how does the President get to know? Say he promote OB from High Court, Appeals Court to the Supreme Court.
Oh yes, and no President. So the information a President will maybe or even more information than the Chief Justice.
Is it true that Attorney General?
It can be. It can be.
Does the Chief Justice play any role?
The Chief Justice is the chair of the Judicial Council. It is a body before the Judicial Council. So also would decide. They will also take a decision and advise the President, which advice is not binding anyway. But they would advise the President.
So then, at what point, and the list of promotion ever before the Judicial Council?
That is when the President is done with the list.
So in that process of going through the list, Chief Justice role be play. Sebia Mampeni, okay, Sebia person promote nipa best 5.
That is not stated in black and white in the Constitution. But of course, ABR, some common bit me also behind the scenes.
Has it become a norm? We say you tired, but I said
what may not have happened before. Any say your whole letter.
Okay.
Chief Justice, no.
Actual letter. So how did the petitioner prove say Ampa Justice Tokono and a recommendation to the President?
Oh, says that letter became public. That letter never public.
My many letter no.
Yes.
Letter no come President no.
Okay. It based on that in Tina committee, no.
Okay.
As to say the facts that we're recommending call for no bonny and bonny no. That's an argument for another day.
So in this
but the committee feels say
list new year.
Yes.
Or refer list no to the Judicial Council.
Yeah, or the paper back to the Judicial
for review.
It has to.
It has to come. Or say as to say the Mampenia can say a bem and I say the bem.
Judicial Council would advise. The advice is not binding.
Like a Council of State.
Council of State, sure.
Okay.
You understand? They would advise.
Okay.
Almost say the fact that Chief Justice actual letter.
Okay.
Well, actual letter no a misbehavior. Recommending
certain
some judges to be promoted to the Supreme Court, no, I would say a misbehavior.
Could it be as a conflict of interest?
They even say, even though and yet it is not stated in the Constitution that process is not spelled out in the Constitution, but the Ghana Bar Association case, the Supreme Court take your opportunity to spell that out. Say Justice of the Supreme Court, was a fasuni. Almost say we breaches our case law procedure.
So we issue that case law.
Yeah, and a work committee in a report. Yes, and the committee recommended your removal in the following terms. In view of the findings of the committee in paragraphs 1.9, 3.4, 6.7, 7.5, and 9.5 about the above, the committee recommends to the President, in accordance with Article 1467 of the Constitution, that Chief Justice Gertrude Alaba Isaba Sakitokono ought to be removed from office. And that is essentially, based on the first petition, Daniel Ofori petition,
last part can be my way. I mean, from Mr. Question, last part. Near Omodiginal committee, recommendation of Mokase. Yes,
they recommend to the president, in accordance with Article 1467 of the Constitution, that Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono ought to be removed from office.
Which office?
From office as Chief Justice of the Republic. Yes.
Well, my penetrator now,
and the warrant, as Chief Justice in the other. Consequently, in this letter, consequently, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana has, by warrant of removal under his hand and the presidential seal, effected your removal from office as Chief Justice and Justice of the Supreme Court of Ghana with effect from the date of the warrant.
So the committee's recommendation was taking the woman out of office,
yes,
as Chief Justice.
Who go by the wording of we are. Almost say the committee recommends that, in accordance with Article 1467 of the Constitution, that Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono ought to be removed from office.
Which office? It's a maker say. Committee no idea.
At least. Where letter Callistus Mahama Troy. And maybe from the
committee report. And I make a so by the committee report, they only stated the office.
Yes.
And Nippon on the petition is so no see Yenima Ministry office
as Chief Justice.
As Chief Justice.
Sure.
And a penny extension to cover the other duties as a Supreme Court judge.
Sure.
Sure.
It is even though we Supreme Court justice and
Chief Justice.
He is out as Chief Justice and off the bench as a Supreme Court judge.
So this one is by the President.
Warrant
acting upon the recommendation
of the committee.
Yes. Led by Justice Foreman.
Sure. It is the free to as Chief Justice
and also Supreme Court
as a Supreme Court judge.
Basically, because any possible because my office.
And that would be a decision he would have to take.
For example, maybe you were free IGP now, a member of COP, maybe my baby, and again, my penny, my Minaka said the work as you said, Kessenaka said more about the oh my God!
I was remember that. A former Chief Justice. Sophia Kufuor, and she was not very happy. When it was also abstaining from Council of State, decision making on the prima facie.
And also was the key. He was say, "Na dance you could do a committee anymore." No, him say in camera.
Yes.
But if you na dance in that bunting.
Said no. Obi ni mo bi o de beto abon.
When we dance any be.
Me who be. Me who be. But on no free say. The allegations need the waiter and was he a timid Chief Justice.
Also, but the Macan I say, if upon the council to sit with Tinfita, comfort mine. Your money, piano, and quiet among yourself. Your money, piano, or Chinami, ya don't put near Bupitriania, you bet me a channel will tell you 2 years.
That's fine.
It shouldn't necessarily be said, many acquisition was sent, it may not acquire with the match acquisition. No, tell me because my phone. Say be your chance, what the crown near Boputri in Yanoa, you can still defend opposition. There be a executive, are you gone? And the politics can see a pie in the honor. Yes. Legislature, anyway, I say, near Akaya ye cry a judiciary. A free bra anas arabia anas e hwe mbe toja na mafo ebika so ko yate modwe ko ma pepe ya nya adwuma ketase proye kankan dwindie ewo but e benya ho adanse die paase e da wo se ye hu sase basi eje kapra ne sempoa no e ma gidi amafo wo yate modwe no e ba fom asoman mu mie nkoso nya bibia e be koso adamp the interest the trust ya gama for wo e yate modwe no because nipo be lose at the end no see politician no be cool na menu mi dey be dey so ne ye bia no yenya ne say se me down matetre na obi nyane makwasi say eye den na wo so microphone ya o se mtimi chire enye enene na asem ya menkem
akwasi nsia me da se na dada KD announcement ameye ye no